I prefer if you were like 2 centimetres taller.
So we're like the same.
Yeah, essentially. Unless you prefer being shorter.
I'm not too worried about the power play going on.
G'day guys, what's happening? Welcome to the Wholesome Half Hour. I'm Saren.
I'm Mackenzie.
And this week we're talking about university, everything you need to know. Degrees, conjoint degrees, double degrees, majors, minors, papers, credits, points, all the words. All the terminology,
all those uni jargon words
all
that
those
you
things
hear.
that they say all the time that mean
Zero
knows?
to a lot of people.
yeah. So we're gonna
sort that out.
make sense of the madness.
And what are we starting with, Saren?
What are we starting with? What we're starting with is how we usually start, with me noticing that this camera is not straight.
Oh god. You go fix it.
Not straight.
I'll segue us in. I'll buy you some time. It'll be good. I promise. So I guess the first thing that a lot of people ask about or want to know about is to do with degrees as a whole. Like, what are they? How are they made up? Like, how do you even get one? Which, you know, a degree or a Bachelor of Arts, a Bachelor of Science, or Bachelor of Commerce, or a Bachelor of Health Science. That's one, yeah.
Bachelor of Tourism Management, Bachelor of Building Science, Bachelor of Engineering, whatever, you know.
Bachelor of lots of wonderful things.
Yeah, Bachelor of Teaching.
So bachelor's is like the first thing that you will aim for when you get to uni, really. It's the overall thing that you're studying towards in your first 3 years of what is called undergraduate study, which means you have not yet graduated. University.
Or another tertiary
Institute.
Yeah.
Of kinds. Yes.
That means you're an undergraduate, yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot that that's like one of the words that like confuses you at first.
Yeah.
Undergraduate, and then postgraduate is once you graduate, once you do an undergraduate degree, then you're a postgraduate and you can do other study things.
That would be when you'd go on to do either honours or masters, and then further down the track, something like PhD.
Doctorate. You can get a fancy name, be Dr. Mackenzie Ground.
Get them fancy names.
Fancy names. I don't know, I don't see why else you'd do a doctorate. I reckon it's all about the fancy name.
At least 70% of it is for the fancy name.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so a major is essentially, it's based on a points system, not so different to that of NCA, how they have like this idea of like credits and stuff, but instead, you take papers, and in each semester, or trimesters if you're from Victoria, everywhere else calls them semesters. But in one semester, if you're doing full-time study, you can be expecting to do from about 3 to 4 papers. If you're doing 5 papers, that means you're like real full-on, like real stacked for points and stuff like that.
Pushing the limits.
You're really, really pushing it. And so if you are in any paper, I don't know if this differs, it depends on how long the course is, but a semester paper you can expect to be worth between 15 to 20 points.
Yeah, or sometimes less at other universities, but
yeah,
between 10 and 20 points. Usually 15, but anyway, from 10 to 20, because universities like to play different games and confuse everyone. Yay!
And it depends, the points are supposed to be reflective of how much work you kind of put into the course. So Vic at least has like this idea of 1 point is X amount of hours of study, they say. I can't remember it off the top of my head.
1 point is 10 hours of study, so a 15-point paper is meant to be 150 hours of study over like the 14-week trimester.
And that's including lectures, tutorials, and then your own time, of course. So the points add together over the 3 years, and to get a degree, you have to get 360 points.
For a BA,
for a
BCom, or BSc, or all of the 3-year degrees.
Yeah, so 3-year degree, 360 points. So each year you're aiming to get about 120 points.
Yeah. So to get 120 points, you'd usually do 60 points in a trimester or a semester, which is usually about 4 papers.
Yeah.
So a paper is just like one class. So a paper could be
like think of it like subjects almost.
Or like even more like standards.
Yeah.
Like introduction to, so like I'm just gonna rattle off like some of the, I'm trying to think of some of the common papers I've done, like introduction, in your first year at uni you'll do a lot of like introduction to papers, so like introduction to microeconomics, introduction to New Zealand political systems, like all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah, so and that's another different as well. In first years, the papers that you take are called 100 level, and then second year is 200 level, third year 300 level, and that's how they sort out like the course codes. Like if you, for example, in first, many people take this course at Vic. It's called Stat 193. Like so many people, anyone who's really taking a social science really has to take this paper, and it's 193 because it's at the 100 level. The 93. I don't know how they organise that. I'm guessing they just pick numbers out of hat, but I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason to the other two numbers. But the first number tells you what level that paper is at. Yep. And so at each level, depending on the degree you have, you'll have different major requirements. And so the way you work towards a major is by taking the required papers of that course. So, for example, I'm going to base it off what I'm currently doing because I know it off the top of my head.
Selfish.
Thank you. So
I've been very helpful today, I feel like. I feel like it's a great day. So
for psychology at Vic, at the 100 level, you need to take Stats 193 and you need to take Psych 121 and 122, which are both introductory psych courses. And then in the next year, you have to take the one required psych course, but then you have to make up another three or four papers with different 200 level psych papers. And so you get to choose which other ones you want to pick. And there's like a bunch of different ones that you can pick from. And it's a very similar thing at the 300 level where there is a required kind of statsy type paper, and then you just have to fill up the points with other psych courses that interest you. Is it?
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. So usually if you go to the university website or look at the old booklet, and you look at the major you want to do, say psychology, they'll say like very clearly what the requirements are. So it could be anything from that to some of the less structured degrees. I know I do political science. All you need to do is any two 100 level papers, any two 200 level papers, any two 300 level papers, and then one extra paper at 2 and 300 level. That's like a very simple one. Or if you go to a course like engineering or some of the other sciences, it's very prescribed. You might have like in some degrees, like all of your papers might be like prescribed. Like there's no choice.
Yeah. Depending on the course that you take depends on how many required papers there are. And so once you've fit all the required papers in, if you still have papers at the end, so I'm doing a double major, so I'm also doing criminology. So I also have to fill the major requirements for crim, and I'm lucky enough that I can fit the same amount of papers, or not the same amount of papers, but all the crim requirements in as well as the psych requirements. But if I weren't per se like doing a double major, I would just fill it up with like other courses at the 300 level that maybe interested me, that I was able to get into.
Yeah. So we just talked about, Mackenzie mentioned there is like a double major. So all you have to do is fulfill the requirements of two different majors. So you look at those requirements, if you can tick them all off, you can get your double major.
And a lot of people take a double major and they might do it over 4 years instead, just so they can fit in all the requirements. And there's a lot of people do that as well.
Yeah. So that's looking at if you're doing one degree, one or two majors. Can we talk about like minors a little bit?
Yeah, so minors are similar to majors in that there are requirements that you have to meet, but there aren't as many. Yeah. So it usually means that you don't have to take like the traditional required papers for the major. You can kind of take the more like interesting to the side papers, and you just kind of have to fill a point requirement as opposed to like actual paper requirements.
So like a major's like the main thing that you're study focused on. So like if you do like political science, like you will know lots about political science. Whereas if you do like a minor in political science, you might know like, obviously you're going to know more than someone who didn't do anything at all, but you didn't like study it to the same extent.
Yeah. Are you taking any minors?
No, because I have a very interesting degree.
Oh, yikes.
What we just talked about is all if you're just doing one degree. You can also do two degrees. So there's two.
And what's that called?
So there's two different ways you can do 2 degrees. You can do a double degree or you can do a conjoint degree. So the main difference is double degree is the simpler one. It also takes longer. A double degree, you just, so for a single BA, we just mentioned you need 360 points. For a double degree, you need like more, so you need like 2 times as many points, but then some of them cross credit. So then like, I'm not quite sure what the number is for a double degree. You'd have to look into it. It will
Probably
change depending on the degree
courses.
combo. But essentially with a double degree, there's no minimum grade that you need to meet as long as you keep passing all your courses.
Oh, okay.
And so you don't have to do, it's not like you don't have to do 720 points, 360 times 2 if you were doing 2 3-year double degrees, but you only get to cross credit. I'm not sure what the number is, but it's not quite as much as if you do a conjoint degree.
Right.
So if you do a conjoint degree, if you're doing like a BA, BCom conjoint degree, I know at Vic, you get to cross credit 180 points. So that means you only need 540 points to do a conjoint degree in arts and commerce. So you get to cross credit more. The catch is you have to maintain, I think it is a B- average.
Right.
If you don't do that, you get kicked out of the conjoint program and you have to finish one degree first or just do one degree.
And so the difference between something like a double major and then like doing like a conjoint or something is that double majors generally come from like the same department.
The same discipline, yeah.
Yeah, so again, sorry about that I keep talking about psych, but psych is actually a weird one in that it's the only degree, at least at Vic, I'm not sure about other universities, where you can actually do it as a BSc or a Bachelor of Science or a Bachelor of Arts, depending on which way you kind of want to go with it. So I do it as a BA so that I can do it with criminology, but there are a lot of people who do it with like a Bachelor of Science and then they might do like a double major with like biology or something like that.
And then
it's
you
a very generic thing.
So you can do, your degree can be as simple as, BA in psychology and that's it. So you just have to meet the majors for you just have to meet the major requirements for psychology and then do however many papers to meet the 360 point requirement for BA. Or your degree can get quite complicated, especially if you're a law student and you're not doing something. So for me, I do a Bachelor of Arts and Commerce conjoint with a double major in the arts degree in political science and media studies, and then in commerce I major in marketing. So it can get quite confusing. But I'd encourage you not to overthink it too much when you start. You could always add and drop majors, especially when it's within the same degree, especially if it's something like science or arts or commerce, one of the kind of less specialized, more general degrees. You can end up, if you do like 4 psychology papers and you don't like it, you can change your major but still have those papers count towards your Bachelor of Arts. Yeah, so
and that's one of the things as well, like I could literally go online right now and like change my courses if I wanted to. I wouldn't, but like I theoretically
at this point. But when you're it's now
it's
both of us have been staying for 3 years.
It's easy enough
in
to
your
do.
first I changed my major in my first year.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
In your first year especially, like you have a lot more flexibility, like as time goes on.
Yeah,
like
you sort of get a little bit more locked in to what
you'd have to like kind of throw away more credits. If I change my degree now, I'd be in uni for like an additional like 2 years.
Yeah.
But if I did it in first year and I'm at uni for an additional 0 years.
Oh, so how many years are you doing?
4 years.
Oh yeah. So it can get complicated, but I do think it is one of those things as well that look at what you're interested in and then see what degree would like complement that most. So don't like go into it thinking I want to do something that sounds really complicated or like sounds fancy or like reads well, because like you might be like biting off more than you can chew, or it also like might not be what you wanted. And I think that's something that people have to bear in mind as well when it comes to uni, is that at least in the first few weeks of courses and stuff like that, be very open to the idea of maybe switching a course or dropping a course if it's not what you thought it was going to be, because it definitely happens. People get catfished by courses all the time.
Yeah, within the first 2 weeks of the trimester or semester, you can change courses like at no cost, provided that the course you want to get into has space.
Yeah.
So if you like show up to a class one day, like first lesson, and you realise like the
The
lecturer
same
gives the
thing, fam.
overview of what you're going to learn, and you're like, yeah, this isn't, I'm not interested in this.
Yeah.
Within the first 2 weeks, if you do it, you can waste no money, waste no time,
Yeah.
get enrolled in a different course.
Which are kind of better off doing. I know sometimes you can stick it out and it pays off, but at the same time, like, don't be afraid to change if it really, really isn't vibing with you. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Especially if it's within the first. Yeah, especially if it's within the first year of your degree, or you're doing it in a way that it doesn't like impact, like you're dropping an elective paper and replacing it with a different one.
Yeah.
So an elective is like one that isn't
Going towards a minor or a major.
Yeah.
It's basically, it's there to give you points, but isn't like I took a year at French. Like,
French. I don't really, but well, I did French for like 2 years in high school.
Nice.
A while.
I'm so proud
I think
of
I
you.
passed.
Being the operative word.
Very confident.
I love that. Should we? What else was on our agenda today?
Can we just do like a 60-second recap of everything we just talked about? Because I feel like we talked heaps. Firstly, if you want a text version of what we just said, there's an article on the StudyTime website, which I will link in the show notes.
We will link.
So, 60-second summary. Degree is like the broad thing you're going to study. Major is like the more specific thing you're going to study. Within that, you do papers or courses, they're the same thing, which are individual topics, and papers are worth points. You get points. You need so many points to get your degree.
Yes. I haven't heard anything that sounded incorrect, so...
Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
If you want us to clear up anything or you're not sure about something we mentioned, let us know in the comments.
Slide in our DMs.
Send us a DM and we'll come back to it
in the next episode.
Week. I wanted to say next in like a fancier way, but I couldn't think of something. But we'll do it in the next episode.
We'll do it in the next episode.
Surely there's like a fancier word for next in the future.
What is the word, the opposite of proceeding? Proceeding? Succeeding?
Proceeding? Oh. Preceded by, succeeded by.
Anyway,
have you
guys
noticed
had
that
some
the
questions.
bar outside is playing music? You guys probably can't hear it, but I can.
Can somebody please tell us whether or not they can hear it later on? Oh no, you'll be able to hear it when you edit, will you?
If it's loud enough. It depends. Sometimes it's loud enough, sometimes it's not. Long story short, out that window there's like a rooftop bar, and sometimes they play music, and sometimes you can hear it in the recordings that we do.
So if you guys ever hear some jazzy music
You should
in the background,
complain.
you know
Send
what
them
it
a
is.
complaint.
Oh my god!
I don't know. We didn't name the bar, so they can't send a complaint, but you should send a complaint. I reckon they should not play music when I record videos.
That's fair.
Cool. Should we answer some questions?
I think we should.
This question, I'm not going to attempt to read it. You guys, if you want me to read out your name, and if your Instagram name's not normal, and when I say not normal, I don't mean like an unusual name. I mean like not a word or a name, like just some random combination of letters. You can write your name like in the message. Otherwise, no name for you. First question is
Smutzer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my rendition of your name.
Universities don't look at level 1, is that right? And then I said, yeah, pretty much, that's right. And
it was
then they
quickly followed by
said, that's stupid, why do we do it then? I'm basically going to school for no reason. So I guess I'd say like a couple of things to that. So firstly, like under that logic, like you're kind of going to school from like years 1 through 10 for no reason, which I don't think is true. And I think it's a really good point to bring up that like school is about like ultimately school. The purpose of school is not assessments. It's not the purpose of you being there is not to do NCA. The purpose is to learn.
Yeah, 100%. And I think as well. A lot of teachers.
Brush your hair. Yeah.
A lot of teachers endorse level 1 as almost like a trial run of level 2 and 3. So like, it's kind of like level 2 is considered really important in applying for uni if that's what you so choose to do. And then level 3 is obviously a lot of that kind of stuff is used for later on as well. But I think like level 1. It definitely has its place within the system. maybe not necessarily just as like a trial run, but
if you're looking at leaving school early, not doing year 13, or if you're looking at some sort of tertiary option that isn't university, a lot of them, like, you might only need level 1 or two, a lot of them will only need level 2. And like you might not need level 3. So you, depending on what you're doing, like level 1 might be quite valuable and like level 3 might not be, depending on what you're doing.
So just because tertiary institutes don't necessarily look at level 1 doesn't mean that other venues don't. And within itself, NCA level 1 is its own qualification. And so without level 1, it would also make year 11 quite odd, as in, like, because I also, because as a lot of these people know, we also work as tutors, and I tutor a lot of year 10 students as well, and the difference between those within NCA and those who aren't in NCA is so different in that schools have discretion in what they choose to put in the curriculum, and all schools follow like a same generic formula, but it is very much, in a lot of ways, there is a lot of variability. And NCA level 1, I think, is a good way to get everyone kind of on the same playing field for like level 2 and level 3.
It actually, I know a lot of teachers say this, but it actually is a really good trial run. It gives you like an opportunity to learn what like externals are like sitting in an exam room, internals, like how everything works while it's not as high stakes of a situation. So that's the first thing. And then also it like sets like all the stuff you, unlike year 10 and year 9 and year 8 where like schools will teach like somewhat different things, at level 1 schools are teaching a lot of the same content. And it sets the groundwork for level 2. If you do well in your level 1 subjects and you end up taking similar subjects in level 2, you already know all the groundwork, so you can kind of like hit the ground running.
And like I'm not saying NCA level 1 is like a perfect system, and it's currently looking to have quite a big review, but it does get everyone on the playing field, and I think that there are other mechanisms in which could fulfill that same role, but at the moment that's what NCA level 1 is doing. And I think I definitely had that thought when I was in high school of like, what is the point of NCA level 1? Nobody looks at it. But at the end of the day, we are in school to learn as a whole. And just because tertiary institutes aren't reliant upon it doesn't mean that others aren't. And it definitely does have its place.
I wouldn't just, because if you're also kind of like, you're kind of setting yourself up, even if it's just like a mindset framework, it is kind of a bad mindset to go into level 1 being like, oh, this doesn't really matter, and then like having to like flip the switch next year and be like, oh, like now I have to be all in. Like it's a lot better to be like, oh, this is like a good opportunity to give this a go without it being as high stakes, and then the following year you're in a much better position to like take on level 2.
I agree, and I think I'm not 100% sure how like Cambridge and IB work exactly. I know IB only has 2 levels, but like a lot of systems have a very similar sort of beginning platform, I guess you could say. Like, think of it as a tutorial level, like.
It's like university as well. Like in your first year of university, you get all the groundwork laid. You get an introduction to like, these are like the different ways that we study political science and blah blah blah. And then in second year, level 2 and level 3, you kind of look specifically at little components within that, and then like really focus.
And I think that is also the purpose of NCA level 1, is to really like put down that framework for what later years are going to be working on. And also to help give students an idea of what they can expect in the next couple of years. Sorry, excuse me. My nose. But cool. I think by like Siren said before, by that logic, it would sort of indicate that years 5 to 10 were also for nothing, which is not the case.
And I think like especially as you get older, it is kind of like, I guess kind of like the marginal return on school year to year is less, but it's still there. But like, I'd encourage you to think about it like, imagine if you just like like there was no assessment in like year 1 and 2 and 3, but if you like didn't go to school then, like you wouldn't know how to like read or spell.
Exactly.
So even though like you aren't making like leaps and bounds in the same way, you are still definitely learning new things at year 11. And even if you're not doing it for the assessment, I would encourage you to just like be curious about learning new things.
And I think even if NCA level 1 weren't there and year 11 was treated in the same way that year 9 and 10 was, you would be taught basically all the same subjects anyway. Like you wouldn't have, you know, the whole credit framework and all that kind of thing, but essentially the content is going to be more or less identical, just for the simple fact that it would feed into NCA level 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess long story short, like I understand the sentiment, but there is a lot more to it, and NCA level 1 does definitely have its place and serves a purpose within the entire framework of NCA as a whole, and like further on going to uni, and even if you choose not to.
Yeah.
Cool.
I reckon we did a great job answering that question.
Awesome. What is our next question?
Our next question is from Caitlin, and they wanted to know if we had any advice on scholarship applications.
Okay, so my first thing about scholarship applications is each university has like sort of some generic kind of like
mass scholarships.
Like mass scholarships, yeah.
Like a lot of,
Yeah, so in every uni kind of has their own in like different various flavours, but they more or less do the same thing. So there's Victoria Achiever Scholarship, Victoria Excellence Scholarship, each are worth $5,000 for most people, unless you're like in the top what's outstanding, and I think it's like 10,000 or something. I can't 100% remember. And the Excellence Scholarship is if you got basically an excellence endorsement at level 3.
Something like that.
And so level 3 results is what feeds more into scholarships than like obviously level 2, which plays more into halls and actually getting into uni as a whole. Then there are, and those
That's also worth, sorry, this is slightly off topic, but I just want to point something out. Everyone goes on and on about level 2, but you can screw up level 2, and if you do well at level 3, you can still get in all good.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Halls might be a bit of a challenge, but university, absolutely no problem.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so those ones are very, very clear. Your schools will probably tell you a lot about them as well, and very much on how to apply for them. Quite often as well with those type of ones, I know with the Victoria Achievers Scholarship, which is what I got, was that it was a sort of a 2-part thing, in that I handed something in, and like a representative teacher from my school also handed something in. So for those kind of ones,
a lot of the scholarships are like that. They require some sort of reference or something rather from your school.
Yeah, and you'll usually have like a designated person at your school that'll like do that.
Schools will generally make you aware of that. If they don't, just talk to your dean or someone like that, and they'll usually be able to point you in the right direction. Yeah,
no, definitely. And then there are other scholarships, and this is where you go onto each university's website and you scroll through their database and you look at all the obscure things that they have out there.
You'd be surprised if you haven't looked already, even if it's just a treat.
It is a treat of an adventure.
Having a look.
I'm so sorry.
I really want to blow my nose as well, but I'm resisting the temptation.
It is August, and I've got hay fever, team. This is not okay.
I can make it through the rest of the show.
I believe in you. Anyway,
it's been an interesting week.
It's Tuesday.
I've just been
No, it's Monday. Yeah. We record this on a Monday, team.
I've just been like half sick, like not fully sick, but like a little bit sick for like a week now.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of over it. So I bought some fancy like pills today. Not illegal pills. Pills from the supermarket.
I'm glad that you clarified that, because I'm sure that's the conclusion that everyone leapt to.
Magnesium. That's what the internet said was good.
Oh yes, that's right.
Yeah. The interesting ones.
And so, so you scroll through their databases. You can usually type things in that might apply to you, and the kind of things that you can like look at are like. If you've played like certain sports, if you've participated in certain things, like I know for a fact that a scholarship to this effect exists, of something about if you're a boy that's played cricket and you're Catholic.
I'm not.
There
I
are
wouldn't be
definitely
surprised.
scholarships out there that
Essentially, the
exist for
reason
you.
a lot of them exist is like you have
They're
like,
provided by
groups.
certain
Yeah.
groups.
So like, for example, I don't know, if like a local, like in that example, if there's a local Catholic
Cricket church.
group church, they might they might like have like a $10,000 scholarship to someone who's Catholic and plays cricket.
Yeah. And then there are the big boy scholarships as well. So like Auckland offers their $50,000 one, and Otago has that $30,000 one. Those are given to obviously not a heck of a lot of people. I actually had a friend who got both the Otago one and the Auckland one, and she got to choose which one. And I was like, and then I had another friend that got the other $50,000 one. We were a very academic school, but yeah, those are the big ones, and those are like if you've done like not just gotten like excellence endorsements, but you've also like just absolutely
Smashed it.
smashed NCA, taken around the block, and
Smashed
just
NCA, done some good community work.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff.
like those are for your like all rounders kind
Yeah.
of people. Which are obviously very competitive, but if there's anything I can recommend about scholarships, it's you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And a lot of the time, if you don't, like, if you think, like, I could apply for this, like, I fit the requirements, but I'm not really sure whether or not I actually, like, could do it, like, just give it a go anyway.
Just
Do it. Do it.
Sponsored by Nike.
Sponsored by Nike. But, sponsor us, Nike.
Yeah.
No. But, yeah, just for the simple fact that, you know, there's no harm in applying for them, you know?
Yeah.
So, at the end of the
Yeah,
day,
you've got
you're not
nothing to
gonna,
lose.
you got nothing to lose, so.
Got some free money on the table.
Yeah, exactly.
Might as well give
Exactly.
it a shot.
Yeah. Go on.
Cool.
Cool. And we got one more question, which is
I know you were very passionate about this.
apparently a continuation of last week, which I was not in attendance for.
Why weren't you here last week, Mackenzie?
I had assignments due.
Yeah, mate, we all have assignments due.
Oh wow,
Some
crap.
of us write them on time and some of us don't.
Some of us hand it in 3 minutes late
That's
and
too
hand it
stressful. I
to
can't
the
do
guy who's emptying
I
the
would
assignment
highly
box.
not endorse that.
Do as I say, not as I do, team. No, I'm kidding. I'm not this bad, I promise. Moving on. Anyway, so it was about gap year and about people responding negatively to you if you were taking a gap year. And my advice is people are going to react whatever way they want. And I think just do whatever you want. And if people have preconceived ideas about what gap years are going to be at, and it was a joke like when I was at high school as well, it was like if you take a gap year, it accidentally becomes a gap life. And like...
I'd say, a few things. If last week we kind of addressed if it's your parents, so if it's your parents, I'd recommend you watch last week's episode. But if it's like anyone else, like, I really, the things I would say is like who cares, like what they think? Like,
Yeah.
you have to live your life on your terms, right?
Yeah. And if it's like for financial reasons, if you want to work for a year and then go back to uni, like it might be, because I know the person who asked the question, they sort of came back and said that the two biggest things were people asking like if you would like the money too much and you wouldn't want to go back, or if you just become unmotivated. And those are things that can happen. Like that is those are concerns that could occur. I'm not discounting that at all, but you know you best. And if you think that you would potentially do that and you choose to take a gap year, it's entirely on you. Because at this point, like, we're all old enough and we're all ugly enough to decide whether or not we decide to take a gap year, whether we stay in education and go straight into uni. We're the ones who decide whether or not we return to education or we continue to work. And there is nothing wrong with any of that. And I think what isn't awesome is the implications of those who are discrediting your choice to go work instead of go into tertiary education, at least immediately, is that like it's somehow worse, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I just to I guess tie it up, I just give I know people who have gone on gap years, worked for more than like a year, worked for 2 or 3 years, and then come back to university. I know people who have done that with good jobs. I know a lot of people will end up in like some really mediocre job and then realise that they hate working minimum wage and don't want to do this for the rest of their life, so after a year they'll pack up and go
Yeah.
to uni. I know people who have taken a gap year, found a job that they really enjoyed and pursued that as a career and never looked back.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, your decisions are your own, and you make the bed that you sleep in. So
as long as you're willing to accept that.
yeah, if you're willing to accept the consequences of whatever you choose to do, whether that be further education, whether that be to go to a polytech, which is still further education, whether that be an apprenticeship, whether that be just going into the workforce, it is entirely up to you. And yes, bear in mind people's opinions when they are important, like something like your parents or you know, like extended family fun out, all that kind of thing, you know. If
your mate Joe doesn't like what you're doing, you can kind of tell them to be like,
yeah,
like they're probably not that good of a friend especially if they drone on about it. Like if they mention it once.
Yeah. If people voice their concerns in a nice enough way, then that's totally fine. That's valid enough. They're just as entitled to their opinion as you are.
Yeah.
But there is definitely a difference between communicating an opinion and then roasting someone for their life decisions, which is not an awesome thing to do.
You can't live your life based on other people's opinions.
And that's the tea. Yeah, that's all I've got to say on that one. I could rant about it longer, but I think I would essentially be saying the same thing over and over.
I have to watch this again later. I reckon we'll leave it there.
We can leave it
Thanks
there.
so much for watching. If you have a question for next week, you should send us a DM on the Instagrams.
And if you guys even have an idea for
like
what
a
you want
whole
us to
topic.
talk about
Yep.
for a week, feel free to do it, because quite often we decide these very...
We're just like, I just get up on Monday and Mackenzie sends a message and it's like, what are we talking about? I'm like, I don't know. And I spend the whole of Monday thinking about it.
Yeah, you left me on scene last night when I asked him.
Yeah, I was quite tired last night.
But yeah, so if you guys have an idea about what you want us to talk about, what you want to hear our thoughts about, feel free to
let us know.
let us know 100%, and we will be
give
sure
you a
to
shout out.
Yeah, we'll be sure to make it happen as well.
If you're very nice, we might send you like some chocolates. I'm sure that can be arranged.
I'm sure that can be arranged. I'm sure that's in the budget somewhere. But yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching,
we
guys.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Have a marvellous rest of your week.
Stay wholesome, team.
I'll see you later.
See you next week.